Richard Goodall's story begins in the quiet, unassuming town of Terode, Indiana, where he spent most of his adult life working as a janitor at West VO Middle School. To the casual observer, Richard was just another face in the halls, someone who quietly kept the school clean and functioning, rarely drawing attention to himself. He greeted the students with a warm smile each morning, waved at teachers passing by, and often hummed or sang quietly while performing his daily tasks. Music had always been a part of his life, but for Richard, it was a private joy, something that gave him comfort rather than recognition. He had never sought fame, never dreamed of performing on a national stage, and certainly never expected that one small moment captured on a cell phone camera would change everything about his life. In 2022, while finishing up another ordinary day at West VO Middle School, Richard began singing "Don't Stop Believing" in his usual humble way. He did it because he loved music, because it lifted the spirit of the students around him, and because it reminded him of who he was inside, even while the world around him remained ordinary and routine. Little did he know that someone, moved by the simplicity and purity of the moment, pulled out their phone and recorded it. That single video, shared without expectation or even thought of fame, began to spread across social media. First it appeared on TikTok, then Instagram, then Twitter, and soon every platform that thrives on moments of unexpected talent had picked it up. People were amazed that a janitor from Indiana could sing with such emotion, such power, and such technical skill. Comments poured in, applauding him, marveling at the authenticity of his performance, and many viewers were touched simply by the fact that someone so ordinary could have such an extraordinary voice. By the following morning, Richard's life had already begun to change. News outlets started covering the story, sharing the video, and speculating on who this man was and how he had been hidden from the world for so long. Talent scouts and television producers noticed him, too. Opportunities that Richard had never imagined were suddenly knocking at his door. But in the midst of this growing attention, Richard remained the same man he had always been. He still woke up early, put on his work uniform, and went to school to continue his janitorial duties. The sudden fame was overwhelming because he had lived a life of quiet routine, where every day had meaning, yet none of it was public. Richard's story is one that highlights the way talent can be completely unnoticed in ordinary places, and how sometimes all it takes is a single moment captured by chance to reveal something extraordinary. His journey reminds us that greatness often exists where we least expect it, and that the world has countless hidden voices waiting for someone to listen. Before the video went viral, Richard's life was simple, steady, and deeply rooted in the community he loved. He had been born in Indianapolis and spent almost all of his life in the surrounding area, building routines and creating a life that felt fulfilling in its quiet normalcy. Music had always been a part of him, but it was a private passion, nurtured in small ways rather than displayed publicly. Singing for students while cleaning the cafeteria, participating in a local gospel band, and quietly practicing at home were enough to keep his spirit alive. He had faced disappointments before, including failed attempts at larger opportunities like auditioning for The Voice, experiences that had taught him resilience and humility. Those setbacks, while painful, had never diminished his love for music. Instead, they had given him the patience and persistence that would serve him well when the opportunity of a lifetime finally arrived. When America's Got Talent called, inviting him to audition, Richard faced a world entirely new to him. He had never flown on a plane, never traveled across the country, and certainly never imagined stepping onto a stage with millions of viewers watching. For someone who had lived a life of quiet consistency, this was overwhelming. But his voice, the thing that had always been his truest companion, was ready. Richard's journey from janitor to viral sensation is a story of humility, chance, and the incredible power of talent waiting for its moment. It is also a reminder that sometimes life has a way of rewarding persistence and passion in ways we could never anticipate, proving that every quiet voice has the potential to reach extraordinary heights if given the right chance. Once Richard boarded the plane to Los Angeles in May 2024, his life changed in ways he could never have imagined. For the first time, he entered a world full of cameras, bright lights, and people trained to capture every detail. He walked into rehearsal rooms, met other contestants, and navigated spaces that felt completely alien to him. Yet despite the nerves and overwhelming newness, Richard found his footing once he stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage. The moment he introduced himself, the audience could sense both his humility and nervousness. But as soon as the music started, everything changed. His voice filled the auditorium, clear and confident, carrying the kind of warmth and power that captivates people instantly. He sang "Don't Stop Believing" with a passion that made the judges lean in and the audience rise to their feet. Heidi Klum, recognizing the magic of the moment, reached for the golden buzzer, showering Richard in confetti and applause. He was stunned, emotional, and overwhelmed, not just by the recognition, but by the sudden reality that his life had changed forever. This was a man who had spent decades singing quietly for small audiences, and now he was on a stage seen by millions. Each subsequent performance became a reflection of his gratitude, a way to honor those who had supported him long before the cameras arrived. In the quarterfinals, he performed "How Am I Supposed to Live Without You," dedicating the song to his fiancée, Angie. The performance was intimate and heartfelt, allowing viewers to see Richard not just as a contestant, but as a person with deep emotions and connections that shaped his life. In the semifinals, he chose "Eye of the Tiger," demonstrating a completely different energy, showing that he was more than a viral sensation. He was a serious contender, with range, talent, and presence. Each song he performed was layered with meaning, reflecting both his personal journey and the gratitude he felt for every opportunity. By the time he reached the finals, Richard knew he was representing more than himself. He was carrying the hopes, support, and admiration of a community that had seen him from the very beginning. In the finale, his final performance was both faithful and emotional, a culmination of everything he had lived, lost, and cherished. When he was crowned the winner of Season 19, it wasn't just a victory on a television show. It was a moment that validated years of quiet effort, persistence, and resilience. The confetti, lights, and applause symbolized recognition of the hard work and emotional depth that had carried him to this point. Behind the public triumph, however, there were personal struggles that made his journey even more remarkable. Richard had faced rejection early in his career, particularly when his audition for The Voice didn't yield any callbacks. That silence and disappointment could have ended his pursuit of music, but instead, he continued to sing for the small audiences he had, including a local gospel band that provided him solace and a sense of purpose. The pandemic disrupted that too, leaving him with the challenge of rebuilding confidence and finding his voice once again. In 2021, the loss of his first wife, Patricia Sue, to kidney cancer, marked one of the most painful chapters of his life. She had been his anchor, his partner, and his encourager. Losing her left a void that no amount of performance or recognition could fill. Yet he carried that grief into his singing, allowing it to give his performances emotional depth that resonated with audiences. After AGT, he faced the physical demands of performing on a national stage. In 2024, he underwent hernia surgery, which forced him to slow down, reflect, and recover. Even with these setbacks, Richard continued to move forward, showing an extraordinary capacity for resilience, determination, and emotional honesty. His story on AGT is not just about talent. It is about persistence, humility, and the power of the human spirit to rise above challenges. Richard's journey demonstrates that recognition often comes after years of unseen effort, and that success is not just about skill, but about heart, perseverance, and the courage to continue despite setbacks. Through every performance, viewers witnessed not just a singer, but a man whose life experiences had shaped him, giving his voice a depth and sincerity that few could match. From the viral video in a school hallway to standing on the AGT stage with millions of viewers watching, Richard's story captures the transformative power of opportunity, hard work, and the beauty of finding your moment when the world is finally ready to listen. Richard Goodall's story does not end with winning America's Got Talent. In fact, his journey continued, and perhaps the most important chapters came after the confetti had settled and the camera stopped rolling. For Richard, life after the show meant navigating a new reality, one where he was no longer the quiet janitor in Indiana, but a public figure admired by thousands, if not millions, of people across the country. While the attention was exciting and validating, it also came with new pressures and responsibilities that he had never experienced before. Interviews, media appearances, travel, and rehearsals became part of his everyday life, creating a whirlwind that was both thrilling and exhausting. The rapid pace of this new chapter forced him to adjust quickly, learning how to balance public expectation with personal health and well-being. During this period, Richard also reflected deeply on the hardships that had shaped him. The loss of his first wife, Patricia Sue, had left a permanent mark on his heart, and while performing and sharing his music brought joy, it also reminded him of grief he still carried. Richard's life has been defined by perseverance in the face of setbacks, from early rejections in the music industry to the sudden stop caused by the pandemic and the breakup of his gospel band. Each of these experiences, while painful, contributed to the depth and authenticity of his performances. He learned that music was not just a path to fame, but a way to process emotions, connect with others, and honor the people and experiences that mattered most. His hernia surgery in 2024 was another reminder that even success comes with challenges. It forced him to slow down, to take care of his body, and to reflect on the journey he had undertaken. Yet even in these moments, Richard demonstrated resilience, showing that setbacks can be temporary if met with patience, self-care, and determination. Today, Richard continues to sing, inspire, and connect with the people who have supported him from the very beginning. He performs not just for recognition, but for the love of music, the joy of sharing his voice, and the opportunity to make others feel the same hope and emotion that music gave him throughout his life. His story is a testament to the fact that talent can exist in the most unexpected places, and that recognition is often preceded by years of unseen work, quiet dedication, and personal sacrifice. Richard Goodall's journey reminds us that greatness is not only measured by applause or viral fame, but by the courage to continue, the perseverance to overcome loss, and the willingness to share your gifts with the world. His story encourages anyone who has felt overlooked, rejected, or unnoticed to keep pursuing their passion, because opportunity often arrives when we least expect it. From a school janitor in Indiana singing for students, to a viral sensation, to a winner on the biggest talent stage in America, Richard's life exemplifies hope, resilience, and the transformative power of music. Every note he sings carries the weight of his experiences, the triumph over setbacks, and the joy of finally being seen and heard. His journey is more than a story about winning a competition. It is about persistence, authenticity, and the enduring human spirit. In sharing his story, Richard teaches us that life is not always about immediate recognition or easy success. It is about staying true to yourself, nurturing your talents, and embracing opportunities when they arise. His journey proves that the most unexpected paths can lead to extraordinary destinations, and that even the quietest, most ordinary lives can harbor greatness waiting to be discovered.